Good evening. Happy July 6th.
6th, I think it is. 7622-2020.
Yes. We are here at CanesWear for another exciting edition of Canes Alumni Biz by CanesWear. And we are waiting for our special guest today. As you can maybe see that we have a different theme going on. We've got the Marlins hats, which means we have a special guest from the Marlins.
The Florida Marlins, or the Miami Marlins now, Ken.
I didn't say that. You did.
I said that. What's his name? Anyway, we're live. That's right.
Yes, we are live.
So we're all about the Marlins today, but of course, Kyle is a UM alum, so we're going to be all about the U as well. So welcome, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me. This is pretty cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. Just going to turn up the volume here so we can hear you. All right. So welcome. And before we get it, and it's anything in particular, tell us who you are, your name, and what you do for the Marlins.
Yeah, so I'm Kyle Sielaff. I am the manager of broadcasting for the Miami Marlins. I host our pregame show on the radio. I do a bunch of the play-by-play during spring training, and I fill in about 7 to 10 times each year when the guys need a little break. So I've been with the Marlins since February of 2013. I went to UM from September of 2010 through December of 2012. So I've been down in Miami almost 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
You got with the Marlins? Oh, sorry, go on, Ken.
Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from New York. My dad's side of the family's from Long Island, and I grew up in central New York, up near the Cornell, Ithaca area.
Okay. Excellent. You wanted to ask a question?
I was going to say, so welcome to Miami. It sounds like
thank you.
It sounds like you've been there 10 years. So you started with the Marlins right out of the U, pretty much.
I did, yeah. So I double majored in broadcast journalism and sports administration. And like everybody that graduates, at least myself personally, hoping to be a broadcaster in some sort, I graduated. I'm like, I have all this great experience, and now I have no idea what the heck I'm going to do, where I'm going to go. Long story short, I don't know if you guys have talked to him, but Chris Whittingham, he's, if you guys have talked to Chris, he was my sports director at the time at the University of Miami and WVUM, the student radio station. And he actually reached out and he said, hey, the Marlins are looking for somebody to potentially do their pregame show. And I was young for my age, like in college. So I was like maybe 21. And I'm thinking, well, here's a resume. How far is this going to go? I mean,
right.
what the heck's about to happen here? Long story short, I ended up getting the internship with them. And maybe they were silly enough to put a 21-year-old kid on the air and let him do a pregame show for a Major League Baseball team. But here we are. What is my 8th season or 9th season, whatever it is later, and I'm still doing it and getting more opportunities, enjoying the heck out of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So so you've been with the Marlins for we said 7 years, 10 years living down here.
Yeah.
We got a few Marlins questions, but first of all, let's start off with what about the upcoming season? What's your feeling?
I think July 24th is a long ways away. I hope they get there. I hope everybody's healthy. But you know what? For a lot of baseball fans, it's interesting because baseball's always kind of had a way of like healing. You know, it's been through a lot of stuff over the years. So you just hope that they get back and they're healthy and we can play a 60-game schedule. And, you know, at least for a few hours every night, somebody can flip on the TV and watch some sports. You know, I know there's been some sports back already and pretty close following MLB in the days afterwards. I think NHL and the NBA and stuff. So I think sports in general, get sports back and give people something to look forward to. But I'm hopeful. You know, I think there's 30 MLB teams out there that are trying their darndest to follow the safety protocols and make sure everything goes well. You know, so I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they can play 60 games in 66 days. And most importantly, I hope when it's all said and done, the Marlins are right up there and we can have some fun past September.
So is your schedule going to be the same going forward as far as broadcasting? Or it's
going to be interesting. We're not sure yet in terms of travel. I do travel with the team throughout the course of the season, but that probably won't happen this year. So I think what you're probably going to find is a lot of major league teams broadcasting home and road from their own ballpark. So nothing out of the ordinary when the team is at home, except nobody's going to be in the ballpark, which will be so weird. But then when the team's on the road, we might even go back to Marlins Park. But still waiting on that. But it's going to be fun. You know, again, I just think it's be good to get sports back.
Absolutely. you mind if I ask the Marlin questions now, Ken?
Go
so
for
before
it.
we go back to you, we got a few call-in questions here from my buddy Paul, who's probably the biggest Marlin fans there is, outside of my brother-in-law Jose. He's listening in, who's a season ticket holder. So what's the buzz? Paul asked, what's the buzz on Brinson? How short is the leash? And do you think the Marlins plan to give him at least another full season of Major League at-bats before writing him off?
Well, for the second consecutive spring training, he was really, really good again. And that's a kid who came over, and obviously there was high expectations for him coming in the deal that he came in and being a top prospect, and it hasn't worked out. But there was a self-realization, I think a reality check after the end of last season, and he dedicated his offseason to being better and focusing on baseball, and that was it. So I'm really hopeful for the kid. He struggled thus far, but I think there's still hope, because if there wasn't, they wouldn't give an opportunity, So I hope he gets another opportunity. I think that's what everybody's looking for, but we'll have to wait and see.
Is he the plan to start the year as the starter in center?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of competition. They brought Jonathan VR in, who Don Mattingly and had said in spring training he was going to be their starting center fielder. So if that's the case, then there's going to be a lot of guys and a lot of spots up for grabs in the corner spots. So that's a good question, but I think that remains to be seen.
All right, awesome.
All right, so we'll spray these questions in as we go along instead of just doing them all
I like
at once.
that, Ken.
All right.
So
taking a little bit of control here and going to
we
the
need
UM
that, trust me.
All right. So you were at UM from just about 10 to 12, right?
Yep.
Did you do any sports while you were there?
I did. Well, this is funny, and I'm laughing because the coolest opportunity I probably got, and people will laugh at this. I'll make this quick. When I first got there, a buddy of mine was actually Sebastian.
Okay.
And he was also a practice player on the women's basketball team. And at the time, I'm thinking, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? This is crazy. And I had played basketball in high school, but he came to me one day. He's like, they're looking for guys that want to be on the practice team. I'm like, come on. Long story short, for 2.5 years, I was on the women's basketball practice team. It was the time of my life. They beat me up for 2.5 years. Coach Katie Meyer is one of the greatest people I've ever met. It was the coolest experience I ever had, and one that obviously I never foresaw coming. That's for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, but now see, I had something that I could have done athletic wise.
There you go. It's a thing, and it was really, really cool, and it opened up, truthfully, a ton of opportunities for me in broadcasting.
Awesome. And did you do any broadcasting, or you just did that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think once I realized, like a lot of people, that Major League Baseball player wasn't on the table. After high school, I went to community college because I needed to get my grades up, and I probably had some type of self-realization there that I needed to get my crap together. I did, and I had always loved the Miami Hurricanes. People ask me why. I have no idea why. Maybe subconsciously, I used to see them on ABC kicking people's butt every Saturday afternoon. Maybe that's why a lot of people loved them. So I went to community college up in upstate New York, and I applied to UM. I'll never forget the day. I hadn't gotten the piece of paper in the mail yet, but I cheated and I looked online. They said they accepted me. I thought it might be a mistake, but it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I went to UM. It was the best 2.5 years of my life. But so I got to UM, and I immediately got involved in some of the student like WVUM, which is student radio.
Right.
Being in the school of communication, I did UMTV, so I did sports desk. I got involved in just about anything I could, really not knowing what opportunities were there. But yeah, I did student radio and student TV.
Okay. And so you were with Whittingham at the same time, or is he with you?
Yeah, so Chris he might have graduated like the semester. So I had to do an extra semester just because of like credits or whatever when you're transferring. He might have graduated in the spring of 2012. I'd have to ask him, but I graduated in December of, this isn't making sense. He would have graduated in the spring of 2013. I graduated in December of 2012. So I think he graduated a semester behind me. So yeah, I knew Chris basically from the time I got there.
Okay, great. So you can jump in here anytime if you have any questions.
You're doing great.
Okay, all right. So what was your favorite part of being at UM? I mean, you mentioned the basketball team. You mentioned VUM. Was it one of those two, or was it something completely different?
Well, I would say at the time when I went to UM, it was pretty bleak athletically. And I'm a
Right.
huge baseball fan. That's my passion. Love college football. And I love basketball too. But it's funny, like when you ask that, I think I was there for about 14 seconds when the NCAA whacked them on the wrist and they were down and out for about 8 years. So there was nothing to root for on the football front. And baseball was kind of down in those years when I was there. They would make the regionals and they would whimper away. But the one thing that actually really sticks out when I was at UM is they hired Jim Larinaga, the men's basketball coach. And right before I started to graduate, I think it was the fall of 2012, they had played that out-of-conference game against Michigan State and absolutely cleaned them off the floor. And people are like, you know, the Miami Hurricanes, they have a men's basketball program because who cared, right?
Right.
But he came in from George Mason, I guess it was, and he totally turned the thing around. And then when I graduated, you know, weeks later, they beat Duke by like 40 and sent them packing. So when I was there, and then the women's basketball program was probably the best sports team going when I was there. They were like third in the country or something. But when I was there,
It was because of you.
It was not. And if you were to ask Katie Meyer, I will promise you, I was probably one of the worst men's basketball practice players that they ever had. But I lightened the mood a little bit, and I showed up every single day because it was fun, and I could drink Gatorade for free and eat their granola bars and run up and down the UM basketball court.
Good stuff.
So it was fun.
So you sort of answered it, but didn't really. So what was your favorite spot? That was, you're saying that with Larinaga being there, or I mean, it doesn't have to be sports.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not. I guess the worst part is there's not an immediate game or moment that comes to mind athletically that I'm like, wow, that was super cool. It must have been something with basketball. Again, the athletic department was not exactly firing on all cylinders when I was there.
Right.
So I don't know. There's not an immediate. There's really not an immediate moment like a football game or something. Did they beat the Gators when I was there? No, I think that was like when I had just got out. That's a terrible answer. I'm so sorry, but there's not an immediate
right.
one. There's not an immediate one that comes to mind for me.
All right, so we can move on.
All right.
So you want
Yes,
another question?
thank you. I will put in a baseball question now
All
about the Marlins.
All right.
And we've got Kyle Sielaff. Pronouncing it right, Sielaff?
Sielaff. That's close enough. You're good.
Kyle Sielaff with the Marlins broadcasting team. So I've been with the Marlins for 7 years now. So another question is, what do you think the outlook on Isan Diaz is?
Well, he came up last year and had a couple of really memorable moments. He had his first career home run at Citi Field off Jacob deGrom. I'm sure a lot of people remember seeing that video go crazy with his dad in attendance and stuff.
Right.
I think he's their second baseman of the future until he proves otherwise, right? I mean, there's a reason that he's in the position that he's in, right? I mean, you know, he gets swung in the Yelich deal with Monty Harrison and Jordan Yamamoto and Lewis Brinson, and then obviously himself, and he projects to be the second baseman of the future. And he had a cup of coffee in the major leagues last year. Another guy that took the offseason really seriously, probably saw what it took to play in the major leagues. So yeah, I mean, he's their guy until he proves to them that he's not, or hopefully in this case proves to them that he is. A super talented young man, a great guy too. He's so nice. He's such a nice guy. He's a lot of fun to be around. So, you know, I root for those good guys, and hopefully he's the next kind of crop of those guys that takes him a long way.
Awesome.
So as we're going along here, you're closer to the screen than we are. So if there's any comments in there that you would like to respond to, feel free to.
Okay. All I have to do is scroll. If we're being honest, this is the first, I think, Instagram Live I've ever done. So I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm scrolling and I see some stuff. But if anything catches my eye, I'll stop everything.
Just stop everything, Cole.
Kyle,
right.
what do you think? Speaking of trades, the Marlins obviously made quite a few trades with when Jeter came in and the new organization. The new team. What do you think the best trade they made was?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. The best one?
Hey Kelly, thank you for recommending Kyle.
Oh yes, Kelly did tell me that she had recommended me. Oh my goodness, the best one. That's
Head uptown.
I think that's really tough because we don't know. It takes years to know what the best trade was, right? I mean, It's hard to say because there's guys that they've swung deals for that got stuck in the minor league system. We might find out that the trade for Jazz Chisholm or Jesus Sanchez or some of these guys last July proves to be the best trade. You don't know, right?
Who do you think's absolutely? Who do you think's got the most upside this year that we can see that either people know about him, like Isn Diaz or Branson? Who do you think that fans are going to see and say, "Wow, this guy is something special"?
Monty Harrison. I think he's another one. He could be really, really good. He is an outfielder, and he is a young man that's a freak of nature. If you YouTube him, he's jumping out of the gym in basketball in high school. His brother plays for the Suns, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he was traded, maybe the Bulls or something. But a total freak of nature. He is so fun to watch. If they were to play a 162-game season, this probably may have been right around the time we would have saw him make his debut. But with the 60-man rosters that they've put together and like the taxi squad, I think you're going to see Monty Harrison. Again, it's going to be hard for some of these guys who have never played in the major leagues before. You learn a lot in your first year and not much time. So, but he's another guy that I'm really looking forward to watching. There's so many, to be honest, and I don't mean to say that because I work for the team, but people got so upset by what they did, but it was the most necessary thing for that organization, and people can say whatever they want, but if they didn't do that, they'd still be in the same position and absolutely nobody nipping on each other's heels in the major leagues. And when somebody got hurt in the big leagues, there's no way to fill that spot. So I know how upset and I understand the frustration, but it was the most necessary thing for that organization to do, and it will prove to be beneficial.
So you brought up a good point with the rosters the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the DL going to be, or whatever it's called now? What is that? What is that going to look like as far as bringing people up from the minors and things like that? Is there a minor league system to bring them up, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, so what they're doing is starting on July 24th, the schedules were just released tonight. The Marlins open up on the road against Philadelphia, I believe, on July 24th. They're going to start with 30 guys, and every 2 weeks they're going to drop by 2 guys, and they're naturally going to get back to the 26-man rosters that they originally anticipated this year. But there's going to be a taxi squad of 30-plus guys at some point up in Jupiter that's going to be infused with some of the top talent in the minor league organization. Because in some respect, it's been a little bit of a lost year on that side, right? I mean, it was a huge year in regards to the Marlins now consensus top 5 organization in all of baseball, and getting those guys an opportunity to play 140-game minor league seasons. They haven't done anything, understandably so, right, with all the health and safety stuff. But all those guys are going to Jupiter, and they're going to inter-squad. They're going to play with one another. They're going to work out. They're going to be ready because you do not know. You have no idea if somebody tests positive for COVID-19 or something one day, and you get a phone call and you got to be at the ballpark 3 hours later. So they're going to have some of the top prospects, not only in the Marlins organization, but honestly in all the Major League Baseball up in Jupiter, ready to go if they're needed. So
is that going to be like their own bubble up there kind of a thing?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. I mean, I think there's a responsibility. Each guy shoulders a little bit of responsibility here, right? Because the organization takes care of you when you're on their clock. But it's up to you what you're going to do when you leave there.
Right.
I think some of the guys have talked about that in recent days. And there is a responsibility for every single person, whether you're at the ballpark or going home, to do the right thing. Because if you don't, you could ruin it for yourself, the rest of your team. And honestly, if something happens to one team, it's probably going to shut all of baseball down, if we're being honest.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Just saw that in soccer today, the MLS.
I saw that. That's like one thing happens, and all of a sudden it could be in jeopardy for 29 other teams. So it's, in that regard, it's going to be interesting. But there is a responsibility for every person to do their part, along with all of us, though, right?
Yep,
absolutely. Kyle, so Brian Anderson seems like he's streaky. When he is, he's as good as it gets. I mean, I had him on my fantasy team last year, besides being on my professional team, being the Marlins. But so I think he started off so slow and, disappointed. Then he came on like gangbusters. Do you think he could put a whole year together and be something special?
No question. I think he could have a career year, and I wish we got to see 162 games of him, because credit to the organization and the front office for putting guys around him. And it's not just him, but when you take guys like Jesus Aguilar, who's looking to have a bounce back season after he was an all-star in 2018, Jonathan Villar, who had one of the better years in the American League East last year with the down Baltimore Orioles team. And Corey Dickerson, by the way, who's a really good Major League Baseball player. You take those three guys, you add a little pop to your lineup, and you put Anderson in the mix. All of a sudden, when he's hot and nobody else is, you have to, in the past, if Andy was the only good one going, guys don't have to pitch to him, right? Because there's no worry. If you want to let him get himself out, go ahead. If you want to walk him, go ahead, because we're not scared of the guys behind him. If that was just the nature of what was going on, he could conceivably hit fifth or sixth behind VR, Dickerson, and Alfaro and Aguilar. So you could see him in the middle of that lineup. And with the guys that'll protect him around him, teams are going to have to pitch to him. They're going to have to give him a good pitch to hit because of the other guys that are around him in the lineup. So I think that's I don't think there's any reason why he can't easily be a 25 home run guy. He's got that kind of power. He's still a really young kid. And he's so versatile because he's been in right field and he's been at third base.
Awesome. Last year, the Marlins in the draft seemed like it was pretty much bat hitters. This year it was pitchers, correct?
Yeah, 6 pitchers, 5 of them out of college.
Going to the Major League staff, how many of those guys do you think could possibly play this year, get some playing time? And do you think pitching is going to be stronger than hitting, or hitting is going to be stronger than pitching, or how do you feel?
Well, I think the goal is to find a good balance there, because if you prioritize one particular thing, you're probably in trouble. If you have a great pitching staff, but you can't hit worth a lick, where's it going to take you? So I think what they prioritize is all around, grading out at every single position, being able to do it extremely well, and also having the talent behind them to come up and do it extremely well too. Max Meyer was the 3rd overall pick, the first by the Marlins this year in the draft out of the University of Minnesota. And he's drawn comps to like Tim Lincecum, Marcus Stroman, and the Marlins did not shy away when they drafted him of saying he's about big league ready. I think there's a legitimate chance that you could see him out of the bullpen for the Marlins in August or September.
That's awesome. He throws he throws triple digits, right?
Yeah, throws really hard, has a wipeout slider. That's the guy to keep an eye on.
Awesome. Good to hear.
So what's your opinion on the DH?
It's probably good for baseball. I'm an old school guy, so I like the managerial side of it, but it's probably good for the game. So it is what it is. It is. It'll create more offense. It'll be more fun for guys, but I like the National League rules. Yep.
Growing up, before we had the Marlins, I was a Mets fan, so I was always with the DH. With the no DH, and it was great. All the strategy.
Yeah, growing up in New York, I think I was probably the biggest loser fan there was. The Mets, the Jets, the Islanders, the Knicks. So there was never any expectation for anything. So whenever something went relatively well, it was like it was good. Yeah.
I was a huge Met fan also, so it makes it a triplet amazing. But and I moved down here in '69, so I did see the 73. I remember very well, and then '86 was phenomenal. But once the Marlins came to town, I went to that first game that Charlie Huff started. I was
unbelievable. We played it on the radio. I couldn't stand the Mets.
I couldn't stand after that. It was just crazy. So the Marlins were born, and it just that was my only love for baseball.
There's a lot of people love baseball in South Florida. I know they get picked on that people don't come to the games and this and that, and say whatever you want, but there's a diehard loyal baseball fan base in South Florida.
For sure.
If they win and if they keep everybody together, correct. Ken had season tickets a couple of years waiting for that All-Star game, and I've been fortunate to go to quite a few games as well, and the World Series and all. But the team has been torn apart so many times. First the Huizinga had that team, we won the series. Then Luria had the team. So hopefully these guys are building from the ground up. They can just develop a fan base that'll come out to the games, and we can keep a competitive team once we get going.
They will, and that's exactly what they're doing. They, as upset as people were, they have a plan. They have not deviated from it, and it's one that's the correct way to do things. And it's one that, it's not a blueprint for what the Astros and the Cubs and the Indians and teams that have recently won the World Series, not the Indians, but right. But, in order to get where they want to get to, it was necessary. And I know people hate to hear that. But when you can't just go out and spend $150 million and buy your way to a World Series, there are steps and measures you have to take, and it was necessary. There's no other way to put it. Like, it stinks, right? It stinks when you lose. But a product of all of that losing is a plan that was put in place where these young guys and the talent that they've acquired, I think like 20 of the top 30 prospects were either acquired or traded for it in the last like 2.5 years. It's unbelievable. And they went from one of the worst minor league organizations in all of baseball to one of the top. Now, right, you still have to see if those guys pan out, but they're putting themselves in a really good position.
That's phenomenal. Well, we did tear the team apart after 97, and they came back and won 6 years later in 2003.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a young team that they did put some veteran talent with Pudge and a few others in there. So anything can happen.
Yeah, you never know.
So getting away from baseball for a minute, when you're not doing baseball stuff, do you have any hobbies outside of work?
Not a ton. Certainly not the last 4 months, but yeah, I enjoy hanging out with my friends. I'm still the guy that loves playing his video games once in a while and trying to be the best I can be on MLB The Show. But no, I just tinker around. I'm a pretty quiet person. I don't do a whole lot, and then 6.5 months out of the year we're at a ballpark. So no, I'm pretty quiet. There's nothing immediately that comes to mind that people would find extremely entertaining as a hobby of mine. So pretty boring, actually. So
No, it's good because, as I'm asking that question, I'm thinking, well, you're traveling almost every week, if not every week, for 5 months out of the year. That, when you're not doing that, you probably don't really want to go anywhere. You don't really necessarily want to do anything, right?
Right. When you log those kind of miles over the course of 6 months and all those hours in the air, my interest level, the only thing I want to do is go home and hang out with my family up in New York. I do love the golf, by the way. I love golfing.
Okay, see, there you go.
I do golf. Sometimes well, sometimes extremely poorly, but I hit enough good ones to keep me coming back. But yeah, the travel is unbelievable. It's an unbelievable perk to doing the job. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been a ton of fun. You get to see every city in the country and kind of live vicariously the lives of Major League Baseball players. So it's pretty cool.
So
Go for it.
So Marlin fans were very disappointed when Tommy Hutton left. When he left. Now, he's in the broadcast with you. Is that correct or no?
Well, he's on the TV side, but I love.
He's on the TV side. So you guys both do the pre-broadcast, though. So I'm sure you've spoken several times. So
I talk to Tommy a lot. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I've spoken to him a couple of times. Just fantastic guy. I didn't know if, with all the people that you know in the broadcasting with you, if there's anybody that's helped you the most.
Well, yeah, unquestionably, Dave Van Horn and Glenn Geffner, my two broadcast partners now. Without those guys, I mean, they could have told somebody after my first year in 2013, like, send him packing, tell him to do something else. But they've been extremely instrumental. They are the first to be like, that sucked, do something better, find something different. But if it's not for that stuff, you don't get better. So unquestionably, Dave and Glenn, by far my mentors. But growing up, and you guys will probably appreciate this, I really idolized Gary Cohen and how he rose, right? And I mean, maybe for you it was Bob Murphy or Ralph Kiner, those guys, So, I think they probably, growing up and watching baseball every night, because I think the Mets' success dictated my mood when I was younger. That's how much I loved them. So I watched those guys and listened to them on the radio every single night. So yeah, it's been cool to meet those guys growing up and getting to know them. But yeah, by far my mentors are Dave and Glenn on the Marlins radio side.
Awesome.
Very neat.
Is there anyone you've patterned yourself, or is it those two gentlemen, or anyone else that you've gone ahead and patterned yourself after?
No, there's never really anybody that, like, I've tried to do the same thing, because I think it's really true. Like, if you try to do something that someone else has done or try to sound like them, it's going to come off as like extremely like inauthentic, and it won't sound natural. There may very well be things that I do or that I say that maybe sounds like that because, subconsciously just listening to it so many times over and over again. Yeah, but I've tried to like make it a point to just see where my own kind of head and my mouth takes me, and see what happens there. And you kind of got to be your best self-critic. I mean, you got to go back and listen to your stuff. So I've gone back and listened and been like, dude, that sounded terrible. Do not do that again, But yeah,
we do that after every one of our little interview broadcasts.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Well, so I can't see what what the comment is there.
Yeah, but Dolphin Derek comment?
Well,
Yeah.
I did see that Dolphin did ask a question. I don't know if you saw his question.
Let's see.
Every week he asks our guests a very pointed question. And he said,
do you like pineapple on your pizza?
yes.
Yeah, it's okay, I guess. I'm probably going against the grain there, and a lot of people probably think that's absolutely disgusting, but it's okay, I guess. I think cheese pizza is like the gold medal. I wouldn't necessarily just always make it a point to put pineapple on my pizza, but it's okay.
All right. So what does Kelly say there? I can't see what it says.
That I am her mentor, which I find that very hard to believe.
There you go.
Somebody else, what do you like as the closer this year? Kinsler, Stanek, what's up with Steckenrider? I don't know what's up with Steckenrider. I haven't been able to talk to him, but he's healthy. All three of those guys. I think it's Kinsler, and then if that doesn't go well, it's closer by committee. But Kinsler is a proven major league closer, so I think he's their guy.
Awesome.
So you mentioned you've had the help of mentors. What would you advice would? I'll try that one again. What advice would you give to college kids or just recent graduates on either they want to do the broadcasting thing? Do you have anything that you wouldn't do or anything like that?
Yeah, if I'm being totally honest, your GPA does not matter. Like when I look at people's resumes, I don't care. I'm sorry. Like I don't care if you had a 4.0 and you're top of your class and you're the greatest person ever. Don't care. With that being said, your resume will speak for itself in terms of experience. And then on top of experience, if you want to get into broadcasting, you need to figure out a way to put yourself a reel together. You got to go out there. You have to create a reel. Get yourself involved in absolutely every single opportunity that you can. Go to a ballpark. My goodness, we all have iPhones now. Go to your voice memos. And if you're a young kid, go sit at your high school field and do a voice memo into your phone. Practice. You can practice. Like there's no way you're ever going to get an opportunity if you don't put something like that together. And it might sound harsh, but it's totally true. Like if there were two kids and one of them gave me a resume with all this unbelievable experience and no demo reel, and then there was another kid who had a B+ resume, but a demo reel, you give him the opportunity because at least you have some idea what he sounds like, or she sounds like. It doesn't matter. Like that's the biggest piece of advice. You have to practice. You have to get reps. You have to go out and you have to do whatever you possibly can, whether it's women's basketball, if it's intramural soccer, any opportunity is going to go a long way. There's nothing like doing it for real.
Kyle, do you have a prediction this year on the Marlins? If we play 60, hopefully, what do you got?
I don't. I don't know. It's
could
tough.
you see them winning? Could you see them doing something special, winning 40 games, 35 games, something happen?
Yeah, no question. And I don't mean to sound like a homer when I say that, but in a 60-game sprint, I would have to go back and look. But at some point last year, I think the Marlins went like 25. There was like a 40-game stretch where they went like 25-15 or something. Mm-hmm. If you replicate that in a 60-game season, you're 10 games over 500 with 20 games to play. You're in the driver's seat.
Right.
You go look at the Vegas odds and take the bottom 5 teams. And I think any single one of those teams, if you get hot for 2 weeks, yeah, exactly. If the Yankees get off to a bad start, if the best teams in baseball get off to a bad start and they're 7-14 out of the gates, they're in huge trouble.
Like, so you're looking at basically 60 with the season ending. If normal season would end in June this year, 60 games would be in June. So and that's so anything can happen. I think the Marlins have a chance. I think the young talent it molds together and everything like that, and they're playing. They get excitement, energy. A lot of these other teams may not care as much. For some reason, they may not be into it.
Yeah,
Marlins,
I think that's
we're definitely going to be all in.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think there's something to be said for. Number one, a group of guys that people don't want to give ever a chance to. You couple that with the front office and what they did this offseason, legitimately putting a real good Major League Baseball team together, the pitching staff that they have, the prospects they have coming up. And again, but if you get off to a bad start, you're screwed. Like there's no two ways about it. You got to be good out of the gates. Yeah. If you start slow, you're going to be, you're going to be chasing for 2 months and you're going to run out of time. So whoever gets off to a good start, I think it's going to be wild.
Is Don Mattingly, is he very much into this team? Does he feel like he's got a shot?
Yes. Yes, yeah, of course, but why wouldn't you? Like, people want to be like,
What kind of
you know,
question
like,
is that?
yeah,
It
but
was a slider.
but I think he genuinely believes in his guys. But that's what you have to do as a manager. You have to believe in them. You have to trust them. Then you have to like give them the proper tools to go out there and do the job. Like, yeah, the Braves are the favorite. The Nationals are the favorite. The Mets and the Phillies. People probably think the Marlins are going to finish dead last. But again, you've got a really good young pitching staff. There's no restrictions. I mean, you're not going to send somebody out there and let them throw 160 pitches, but these guys are going to make 10, 11 starts. Go out there and try to shove it to them. You don't know. Like, you have no idea. So yeah, I mean, why not? Why not? They even said, why not us? So we'll see.
Right.
Absolutely. Why not us? I like it.
So since there's not going to be any fans in the stadium, are they going to worry about having the roof open, closed, or is it just going to always be open, or what do you think?
It'll probably be closed the majority of the time. I don't know if you've seen pictures, but they put that like that synthetic grass surface in.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. I know the players really liked it last year in Arizona. So it probably allows them to keep it closed and, you don't have to worry about watering, artificial grass. So I'm sure it'll probably be closed when it's, ungodly hot outside and you have to sit inside all day. So yeah, I'd say keep it closed, have a little AC on, and let the guys play.
Okay. Absolutely, and hopefully we have a great year and hope we get a chance to play. We get a great year, and who knows, maybe the Marlins can shock the world.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know.
I think I've got all the questions. I think you covered the minor leaguers. If there's anybody special that you think in the minors that's extra special that maybe someone doesn't know about.
That somebody doesn't know about. Well, I mean, they've probably heard the name Sixto Sanchez. He came over in the Real Muto trade. Mm-hmm. If he pans out, he'll be one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. He's to me, like a generational type talent as a starting pitcher. People don't want to hear the name, but Jose Fernandez, right? Like you you see like those comparisons. Man, JJ Bleday took him out of Vanderbilt. The Marlins' top overall pick last year. I mean, credit to them, man. They just keep putting talent in the system that's going to, at some point, be major league ready. It's a lot closer than people think. So, somebody that Edward Cabrera, that would be another name I would throw out there that people probably don't know about. He is well on his way to being one of the top pitchers in the Marlins rotation. He's really, really young and really good.
Awesome. So we definitely are stacked in the minors, like we said. I mean, the Vanderbilt product last year, I mean, there's a lot of guys lately in Vanderbilt in the majors, and the Pirates have a great player. So Vanderbilt seems to be getting a lot of steam. So you feel JJ could be ready this year or next year?
I don't know about this year, but he's going to camp. He's part of the 60-man roster. If there's a need, I don't know. I don't see the inner workings of that kind of stuff. I mean, last year was his first year in professional ball. He won the College World Series last year. I don't know. Maybe we could see him in September. Who knows? But he's a guy. But like when you talk about the process that they've gone through and what they've done in recent years, like I know it's been frustrating to see all the losses at the major league level, but even Donnie told me today, there's no more excuses for like, well, at the end of the year, we had a good year, right? Like now we can evaluate. Like, no, it's time to win. Like that's his message. It's time to win. Enough of the nonsense. It's time to win. It's time to go kick butt at the major league level. But on top of that, there's so many guys down below that are just about ready when they're called upon. They can come up to the major leagues, which is encouraging.
That's awesome. It's the time. South Florida needs winners. So
yeah,
call the Marlins. We'll take it.
There you go.
Absolutely. So,
and any opinion on sports?
Yeah, I hope the football team is better.
I think they're going to be awesome if they play.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I am forever optimistic about them. I don't know why, but I love them. As many people do. I think the baseball team is well on its way to doing something really special. I was sad to see the season end for them this year. I had a couple of opportunities to do their games through our ACC network, which I enjoy doing. And there's some pretty special kids playing college baseball there. And I like back on the football side, I mean, the quarterback, the kid out of Houston, De'Aaron King, right? I mean, I saw he was like the third-on favorite to win the Heisman or something.
That's,
I mean,
yes.
It's going to be weird when it's going to be weird when there's nobody at that football stadium cheering those kids on, because I know that there's places that seat like 102,000 people, but I will go to my grave saying when that place is packed with that roof kind of hanging overhead and the passion that is the Miami Hurricanes fan base, find me a better one in college football. Like, I don't think you can. I honestly mean that. And been to Penn State when I was little, and I'm sure Alabama's great, but there's nothing like the Miami Hurricanes. So I hope they're good. Baseball, I guess basketball is getting better. There's a lot. In recent years, the athletic department and the university has done an unbelievable job. I mean, like, the athletic department is constantly keeping up, and whether, those renovations of the athletic center go a long way in terms of luring an 18-year-old guy or girl there to play sports, but that kind of stuff goes a long way. So yeah, I'm hopeful, man. I love them. I think the Miami Hurricanes are the best. So hopefully they'll be good.
I think it's going to be an awesome year. I think the football is stacked. Hopefully we get a chance to play. We had Will Manso thought the Canes baseball team could have won the championship there.
They were good.
They were on their way. And
yep.
So hopefully we get back in the swings. Hopefully there's football. We got our fingers crossed, because I think this team is going to be special with King, the offense, the great defenders like Rousseau and Roche. And I think this team is definitely the best team we've had in a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I know that was kind of been frustrating for Manny in his first year last year. I mean, that's
a little bit.
That's hard, getting beat by FIU. Like, I know people don't want to rehash that stuff, but there's probably growing pains that have to happen. I will be the first to say I don't know much like the X's and O's of college football. I just love watching it, but I could tell from afar. I think that the frustrations of trying to get something where you want it to be, but having to go through the struggles in the middle of a football season, trying to develop something, but getting your butt kicked and people yelling at you and wanting to chop your head off after 4 weeks of being the head coach. It goes with the territory. Right. But watching him under Mark DeRicht, he was a special guy. I mean, his defense was unbelievable. It was first or second in the country some of those years. So I give the guy a chance. He's enthusiastic. He's young. He's going to work 365 days a year. And I don't know. I don't really keep up with the recruiting, but it looks like they got some good young kids coming in. That'd be awesome.
Well, for a guy that doesn't keep up with recruiting, you sure know a lot. For a guy that doesn't know the X's O's, you sure know a lot. But man, he did suffer his trial and tribulations last year. But I'll tell you, a first year does not make a career. You cannot judge a guy in his worst moment. And nothing really worked last year. And this year, I think he saw all the holes and he filled them. He got a kicker, a quarterback, offensive coordinator, which is probably the biggest thing. The new spread offense. So you're a fan like us. So we believe that, that Manny is definitely a great guy. And we believe that we're all in on Manny.
Hopefully so. I agree with you guys.
Excellent. Well, anything else, any last words that you would like to say? When the season, when does your first day start? Opening day, or do you have
I guess it's opening day.
Or?
Until I hear otherwise, we'll be on the air. What is July 24th? Honestly, I haven't even looked at the schedule. So whatever July 24th is, if it's a night game, we're on the air 30 minutes prior to first pitch on 940 Wins. So you can catch us there.
Excellent. And Are you doing any pre-shows before that, or just?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Tuesday nights right now, we have the Line Drive show. I host it. It's on the Marlins YouTube channel. So Marlins, our YouTube, or just Google YouTube Miami Marlins or whatever. And then Thursday night for an hour, 7 to 8, I do a Marlins Line Drive show and have a few guests. So yeah, it's fun. We're doing something to keep us occupied leading up to baseball season.
Excellent. So we're going to have to watch those. Didn't even know they were there. So
there you go.
We learned something today.
The show paid dividends.
Right.
There you go.
All right, Kyle, thank you very much for joining us. And hopefully we'll talk to you during the season. And, of course, we got to do the U.
Oh, okay. There you go.
There you go. All right.
Thank you very much. And hopefully talk to you soon. All right.
All right, guys. Stay safe. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Kyle.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.